Welcome to Beyond Four Walls. Each week, we sit down with leaders, creators, and change makers to uncover the moments, pivots, and lessons that shape their success in business and life. Hey, welcome back to Beyond Four Walls. Today, we have Melissa Gallagher, the founder of AlmaCare. She is revolutionizing the postnatal and family care industry in Canada. She went through her own journey postnatal, which really led to her aha moment in founding Alma. So happy to have you
Thank
here
you.
today. Was so impressed with your speaking engagement at Tech Toronto. I was like, we need to have her on. This is such a need.
Thank you. Yeah,
you're
super
welcome.
happy to chat with you about it.
Yeah. So let's start off with kind of the genesis story. You talk about your experience being, a busy professional. You had your first child.
Exactly. Yeah. So my pregnancy story was not too dissimilar than most. It's a bit of a journey. You invest in some IVF, trust, some of the best doctors, both in public, private healthcare, and get to eventually a successful pregnancy. So I spent a lot of time, talking to professionals and kind of down that journey, really self-educating, as well as, kind of talking to other people who had gone through it. And I got to a successful birth. I describe it as uneventful, but obviously it's a wonderful event to give birth. But it was pretty, seamless, the delivery. And then after, I remember bringing this baby home, 24 hours after giving birth. And I had no idea. I had
And you
all
didn't
the
have a doula or any
no doula.
Okay.
No, it was also, it was the end of the pandemic. So I knew about night nurses. I knew that they could be an option, but they still weren't super popular at the time. And it was the end of the pandemic. So it was just kind of a little bit of a just, do it yourself kind of approach. But I came home and I had the snooze set up and I had all the sound machines and I had, the warmers and the sterilizer and everything, every single gadget carrier, everything you could imagine ready to go. But I was so shocked immediately about my own recovery and what I should have been focusing on was not clear to me. It was really all about the baby.
Yeah.
And I, over the course of about 3 weeks, never saw my doctor, had a bunch of doctor appointments for the baby, of course. But I had been given the advice of just take your prenatals. Just keep taking your prenatals. We'll see you in 6 weeks after birth. And that I remember it striking me at the time, thinking, wait a second, I'm growing a baby inside of me and, taking these prenatals and then.
Which, by the way, takes 9 months.
Right.
So recovery should be.
That's right. Exactly. And, you go through, regardless of whether it's seamless or traumatic, you go through what is the biggest trauma to your body physically during birth. So the thought of just here, take these prenatals, it really stood out to me as something wasn't right. Even in that moment. And then fast forward to actually going through the postpartum journey. And it was night sweats, you soak through your sheets multiple times.
It's crazy. I remember feeling as though I was coming off some sort of trip because the full shakes after, I had an epidural. And people kind of told me, but they don't tell you the real deal. I think especially when it's your first.
Yeah. It's so true.
I was crying when your milk comes in. It's so overwhelming to navigate. And
it's a feeling every single thing is a first. Everything is a first. And the way that you're navigating is a first. With your partner, all of your relationships are brand, it's you're doing everything for the first time. So it's wild. And then the fact that, you do have all of these professionals that you've been working with and friends who have gone through the same thing or who are going through the same thing. And still there is no hey, Melissa, you are going to sweat through your sheets and it's going to be fine. That's perfectly normal. You are going to bleed a ton more than you think you are. And that's going to be fine too. But those things are normal, but they are going to happen.
Or the fear of falling asleep with your baby in bed. I remember Googling the stats, going deep into.
Oh my gosh, the Google searches too in those early days.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, you quickly, it took me about 3 weeks after giving birth, and all of these things kind of my recovery being underway, but really focusing on the baby and also focusing on going out and seeing friends and going for walks and, starting to try to feel back to myself was kind of what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And then really at the 3-week mark, there was just such a very clear moment when, I was talking to 2 other friends, and one had a 6-month-old and one was about to give birth to her second. And and they were saying, yeah, no one tells us this and it's so surprising. And I'm like, how is this the case? Like, how is it that so many women give birth every single day and yet everyone seems to be surprised by the postpartum journey and no one seems to be prepared for it?
And by the way, not like there's also this expectation that you're like, supposed to bounce back. And on social media, it's kind of picture perfect with your newborn. But
Totally. Exactly right.
Let's talk about the real deal, right?
Let's talk about the real deal. And the pressure of bouncing back, or the pressure of, showing up like you've got it handled. Like, yeah, postpartum is hard and I've got it handled. Like there's, whether people mean to do it or not, that's just kind of the way it felt. So it was just, it just, to me, nothing was adding up. And I started searching, first I went down the prenatal hole. I thought there's got to be postnatals. Like if there's prenatals, there's got to be postnatals. And I couldn't find anything at the time. This was before Bird and Bee had taken off and others. But I remember, going down that hole and thinking, where do people talk about nutrition for women after birth? Where are we talking about, the things that women need? And I just couldn't find it. I couldn't find solutions. So, then you start to expand and think, well, this can't be the way. You look outside and my mom, how many times she told me, when I gave birth to my 4 kids, I got to stay in the hospital for a week. And, and then you think about it and it's like, that's right. Like we, even 40 years ago, women were staying here in Canada, women were staying in the hospital for a week after birth. As a standard, baby slept in a nursery being taken care of by nurses. You had a lactation consultant who would come visit you, whether you recognized or not. This was, a program that was in place. That's what the support system looked like. So, it wasn't always like this. And that's really when I thought we have to change this. It has to be. We have to educate people on what postpartum means for mom. And of course, that means taking care of baby, but there's a lot that goes into taking care of women. And that was when I became really passionate about solving that problem.
So when you started solving the problem and coming up with the idea for AlmaCare, like what did it look like in the early days? Tell us how you got started. Were you testing it out with friends?
Yeah. So I had a lot of friends at the time who were pregnant. So I started asking a lot of questions around what their plans were for, or how they approached their postpartum, what surprised them most. And I had a friend who shortly after I gave birth, not too long after, she is Chinese. She had twins. And she talked to me about her mom who moved in essentially for, the first 100 days and helped her. She was, hands-on making her broths and soups and making sure she was eating, the really, really high nutrient dense foods.
You're actually, in Chinese medicine, because I practice it, you're actually not supposed to leave the house for like 40 days postpartum.
So it's sitting the month or traditional confinement was what she was, without quite knowing it, that's what her mom had moved in to help her do. And her recovery from twins was, very successful. I mean, she, she bonded well, she recovered well, physically, mentally, emotionally. And, you look around the world and there's many cultures who approach it that way, where they do put the focus on mom. And of course, babies are getting taken care of. But, mom is staying indoors. She's keeping her body warm. Everything, all of the energy in her body is used to recover. And there is a structure in place to help her do that so that she's not tempted to get up out of bed and fold the laundry, so that she's not tempted to, go for a walk with the babies. It's stay in bed and allow people to kind of serve you. In doing this kind of exploratory work with my friends, different cultures, that's when I started to think about what does the solution look like, and started to map it out. And then I learned about actually Simple Ventures, who was working on a similar, solving a similar problem. And how that came to life was actually in the postnatal retreat in Yorkville at the Kimpton. And this is really like a physical experience. You move in right after giving birth. You're taken care of 24/7. The meals, you have
You stay
everything
in a
at your
hotel
fingertips.
for like a week.
You stay in a hotel for a week. And this
And
is
your partner stays with you, or
your partner can stay with you. Some families stay for a month. And your partner can come and go, but they know that you're being taken care of, which is really wonderful. And then you have access to all those things.
So if their siblings, can they come or?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But most families will stay just because they want that confinement. So they want a modern approach to, what is more traditionally known as confinement, meaning very limited movement, meaning, just spending time bonding with your baby and breastfeeding or navigating the breastfeeding journey, having access to all these wellness services. So what we did was, we started there, but very naturally it evolved into in-home care and bringing that experience into people's homes in a more flexible and accessible way that kind of resonates with our culture very well. People were getting used to night nurses and doulas. So kind of marrying all of that together, but being really proactive and supporting kind of the entire family in this transition.
So tell us how the business model works today. You come to AlmaCare, you fill out information. How many months before what do you advise for?
Yeah, so we see
moms?
families we always suggest to come in second trimester if that's what makes you feel best. You come, you meet with our care concierge. We walk you through like a personalized plan. We talk about what your goals are postpartum, kind of what support structure exists today and where you need to kind of supplement, or maybe many families will come to us and they don't have family here in Canada. So, this is they need all hands on deck.
Yeah.
And then they do, more comprehensive intake form. We learn all about them. And then we provide matching with care team members who are going to help them reach their goals. So some families' goals might be right off the bat, we want to have a really good sleeper. Sleep is super important to our family, and we want to have a really good sleeper. We will find people who have expertise in sleep training or sleep coaching, breastfeeding, these types of things. Other people are really focused on nutrition. Whatever the case is, whatever the goal is, we'll match you with a care team member. Then you interview them, you get to know them, and then you select who you'd like to move forward with. And then they show up at your house either, the day that you come home from the hospital, or maybe it's 2 weeks later when your partner goes back to work, something along those lines. And you've got, that full holistic support. They come in, they check on you first. They make you comfortable, foot bath, massage, whatever you want. They take care of baby. They'll cook you meals. They'll do tidying up around the house.
Yeah, and I saw you have different packages as well, right?
We do, yeah.
So you can buy a certain number of hours or…
Exactly right. So we do on an hourly basis. So you can just do, maybe you just want someone to come 4 hours during the day, give you a little bit of a break. Maybe you want something more comprehensive that's overnight time care, and then someone coming during the day. So it's really based on whatever families are looking for. And that's with the intention of trying to make it, accessible to more families, but really still focusing on, mom's recovery.
And geographically, where can new moms, can you go?
Oh, all of Ontario right now.
All of Ontario.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yes. Yeah. We have now covered all of Ontario, which is amazing. Really excited and, quickly eyeing outside of Ontario.
That's amazing. So launched during the pandemic, you've started to really scale up. What are some of the biggest challenges you're finding as you're scaling? Is it the onboarding, the recruitment of specialists?
Yeah.
As the founder, what are you really finding to be the most challenging aspects?
I find, we want to be delivering exceptional care. And as moms, how vulnerable you are at that time. You know how important it is to bring someone who you love and trust into your home to be taking care of your baby. So certainly identifying exceptional care team members is, I don't know if it's challenging, but it requires a lot of work. You want to make sure that you really fully vet them, that you feel really confident that they're going to hit it off with the family, that they're going to be trustworthy.
Well, yeah, I would think that would be such an important, personality traits and just the mom being comfortable with that.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. It's, and that's why we do video calls with all the care team members before. And some families will, go for coffee with their care team member before baby arrives, just so that they can really feel comfortable, And
if someone says, like, I don't know, it's maybe not quite the right fit for me, are they able to get matched
once they start? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to just feel comfortable. Vibe has to be right. The whole idea here is really focus on mom. So if she's not, if it's even just the simplest thing, we will swap them out. We'll find a better match so that she's not focused on that. She really is just focused on resting, recovering, and bonding with her baby.
And I want to talk about culture because we actually had the CMO of Maple on as our last guest, and we're talking about sort of like this marketplace concept, hybrid workers, which essentially is your specialist as well. Yeah. How do you go about trying to create and foster a culture of collaboration and community when you're not all in office together?
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts, obviously.
There's a lot of moving parts.
You have a very strong mission and purpose.
Yeah.
So would love to hear your thoughts on that.
It's interesting because, all of our care team members, specifically those who are going out and actually working in families' homes, I mean, they're all very mission-driven themselves. That's typically why they get into this work. So a lot of them get great fulfillment out of working with these families, and they build such strong bonds with the families. But to your point, this is AlmaCare, and we want them to, feel a part of something bigger. So, we do, as often as we can, we do workshops. We work with our care team members to understand, what are their goals professionally, what are their goals personally, try and understand exactly what's going to help them get to the next level either way, whether that's personally or professionally. And we'll offer workshops, access to professionals who can help upskill them. We do virtual town halls to celebrate wins, those who have delivered exceptional care, gotten really great feedback, and finding opportunities often as we can to bring everyone together. They are all across Ontario, so some are like very remote, but just making it feel like a community. And then, most importantly, I think feeling supported when you're an independent contractor, and you're working in someone's home, kind of one-to-one care, it can feel isolating for them. And carry a lot of weight. They might come across challenges that they've never come across before. So we have a community within, we've got over 100 care team members. They all use a messaging platform, and it's so wonderful to see. They'll type into the chat, someone, so-and-so is, or I'm experiencing this kind of challenge. Has anyone else come across it? And you will just see a flurry of messages come in, really supportive, try this. Have you thought of that? This has worked for me. So it just really makes them feel supported, even though they're alone and ultimately virtual, but bringing that expertise and celebrating the differences in expertise has kind of helped to hopefully.
Because they're like almost entrepreneurs themselves, right?
Exactly.
So like giving them that network is so
exactly.
critical.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your background. A lot of our audience are either aspiring entrepreneurs or, moms going back to work. You came from a more corporate culture. I think this is your first venture, correct?
Yeah.
Like you were the chief marketing officer at Freshii.
Yeah.
So talk about transitioning from more of a corporate role to, there's a lot of fear when you're starting your own venture and, imposter syndrome and all those things that we talk about. So any tips you could give, would love to hear about that transition.
For sure. Yeah. I think I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit, so it just always felt like it finally felt like this was something I was meant to be doing. And I think, as most women do, when you become a mom and you go through this massive transition, things, you search for meaning, especially, you've got these now beautiful children, and like, what's going to pull me away from them? It really better be meaningful. So I certainly was evaluating exactly where I was spending my time and resources, and what could I build that was fulfilling and worthwhile, that I was really passionate about. So I think, generally speaking, that has to be, if you want to be spending your time anywhere, because being an entrepreneur is not a 9-to-5 job. It's, as every day of the week, all hours a day. So if you're going to be doing trade-offs, it has to be for something that you're super passionate about. And then I think, in terms of the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, it was pretty seamless. And I think what's interesting is it's hard because it is, now all of a sudden you're going off on your own and now everything sits with you. But it's if you can look back and take all of the experiences from the corporate roles into your entrepreneurship, remember the best parts about culture, remember the best parts about, what really made you tick and apply that to as you grow your team and grow your own culture. I think that you can be, you can be a very successful entrepreneur in those ways. It's not always like a born entrepreneur and a risk taker. It could be someone who really did, love that corporate structure. And now you take that into, and pour it into something you're passionate about. And I think you can really find a very meaningful role.
Yeah. And I love, honestly, the thread throughout our podcast has been that most of the founders had their aha moment during the pandemic.
Oh, really?
And actually were their own customer and experiencing the pain points.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, there needs to be a better way. There needs to be a business around this.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that you had that firsthand, just amazing in terms of your mission. What advice would you give to some expecting new moms? I know I have 3 children now. When we had our first, I was like, I'll be fine, I can do it on my own. I'm not going to get the epidural. And then sure enough, I'm going to be a hero. But I would love to hear just your advice to.
Yeah. It's so funny you say the epidural. It's it was the same.
Oh, and it's always the new moms. It's so sweet, but they're like, I'm not gonna get it.
We'll see if I need it. And then the second, I'm like, give me the epidural,
the drugs.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm totally with you. No, for new moms, I would say build your village, and it doesn't mean that you have to, if you don't have access to, to getting a night nurse and all this kind of very focused care. It could be make sure that you have reliable source of support, and that could be whether that's your partner, and really talk about what that looks like with them. Make sure it's understood that your recovery needs to come first in those early days, that you need to limit your movement, that you really need to focus on your nutrition, that your goal is to breastfeed, and if that is your goal, and what that means and how that could look, because I think a lot of that comes as a surprise to couples in those early days, for obvious reasons. I mean, you've never gone through it before, and neither has your partner. So I think just really putting a structure in place around the type of support that is needed, and talking about that before baby arrives, so that it doesn't become, quickly trying to catch up. So I would say that that's the case, and accept the support. I think women so often will be like, no, it's okay. I've got it. It's okay. Someone will suggest, can I make you a meal? Can I drop something off for you? And you're so quick to be like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Yeah. But accept it. Just take it. Take the meal, take the hands, take whatever it is that you can take it, and allow yourself the time, because it's a very, it's such an important moment in time that you can't get back. You can't get that first month back. And I did it with my second. I did at-home confinement. So I stayed home for 30 days. I didn't leave. I limited my movement. I really focused on nutrition. I had nighttime support, daytime support. I did the massages, the acupuncture, the belly binding. I did it all.
Wow. And Alma was already
yes.
It was in its basically infancy at that time. But
with my second.
With your second. Okay.
So this was with my second. So my first did it all wrong. With my second, I was like, I'm not doing this. This is, I'm going to do it right this time.
Amazing.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it physically, mentally came out stronger than ever. And really, not only that, I really enjoyed that first month. Because I was so intentional about it. It was, this month I am going to slow down. I'm going to force myself to rest, recover, and to focus on that, as well as bonding with baby.
Newborn struggles don't last that long.
That's it.
In hindsight, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
They don't. And nor your recovery window also. Sure, you're going to recover, but, the difference that not taking the stairs up and down, not going for long walks every day, not exposing your body to cold, and really focusing on nutrition, the impact that that's going to make needs to happen in those early days. So that's what I say, is to just be super intentional, if nothing else, about that first month. And that's with your nutrition, your rest and recovery, and your support structure in order to be able to do that.
And I read on your site that some of the services are covered by benefits.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And we're trying, for even more, but there's some really wonderful providers out there that employers offer that give you certified doula coverage. So things like Carrot Fertility or Maven we see pop up from different employers, which is just so fantastic. They give them, 6 weeks of postpartum care, which is wonderful.
Amazing.
And then others, whether it's your healthcare spending account or certified doula coverage through, the likes of a Sun Life, that gives you access to coverage. So it's pretty wonderful. RMTs are covered, acupuncturists, all of those things. So we try to, as we're scaling, we're trying to be very mindful of remaining to be accessible. Our goal is to make the largest impact and support as many families as possible. So being able to leverage your benefits is a big part of it.
In terms of Alma's future growth, where do you see Alma in the next kind of 3 to 5 years? What are your own goals for the business?
Impact is a big one for me. I want to, so creating impact and just I don't want to hear moms say that they're surprised by the postpartum journey. So I really want, one, first and foremost, to spread education that the postpartum period needs to be supported better than it is here in Canada. And then, of course, through that, we want to expand beyond Ontario, right across the country in the next, couple of years. Absolutely. And then quite possibly beyond. I think in order for us to make an impact, we have to continue to expand geographically. So that's a big part of it for us, is just, reaching more people and making an impact there. And then, as part of that is measuring the impact, truly showing exactly how this can support more positive outcomes for families. So reduced mental health, illnesses or postpartum depression, reducing.
Which often is residual, right? Like you actually don't realize the postpartum depression until you're kind of way, like 6 months. Sometimes it's way later.
Totally.
Yeah.
It can compound for sure. So there's some where it happens right away, and there's a lot that is, baby blues and those sorts of things. But then like the compounding of the pressure and the changes that you're going through is can show up, 6 months, 9 months, a year later, and you're still going through changes at that point in time. So, our goal absolutely is to put the structure in place, the education for people to know how to support themselves, give them the resources to do that, so that you're not seeing, right now it's 1 in 4 women in Canada experience postpartum depression, which I actually think is probably underreported. I think every woman is touched by this. And then if you think the ripple effect into their families and communities, of course. So our goal is to reduce that. Our goal is to put the support structure in place so that that's one of the outcomes that we directly impact, as well as physical recovery. It's something like 1 in 10 women go back to the emergency room after birth. And very few of them need to be there, meaning that, they're not aware of what's going on. They're not sure who to go to. Is this normal? Is this not? And they end up in the emergency room. And that's a problem for a number of reasons. So we'd like to, again, put the resources in place so she knows what is normal, what's not normal, when to go to the emergency room, only when it's medically necessary.
And I wish I had Alma when I had my first.
Me too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Melissa. Let our audience know where they can find you, your website, social media.
Thank you. Yeah, we're almacare.ca. We're on Instagram, Alma Postnatal, LinkedIn too, for those who are looking to join our team.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.